In a dimly lit room, Melissa's fingers trembled over her smartphone as she swiped through her TikTok feed. One video stood out, an old woman, eyes hollow and milky, her fingers bent like crooked branches, holding a sign, "Watch till the end or you'll regret it." Melissa scoffed, considering the audacity, but as she tried to scroll past, her fingers froze. The screen went black, then illuminated again with her own reflection, eyes lifeless, throat slit, crimson staining her white blouse. Melissa's horrified scream was interrupted by a soft whisper, "You should have watched till the end." The allure of social media was one that Melissa had never been able to resist. And TikTok, with its endless stream of bite-sized entertainment, had become her nightly lullaby. On this evening, she settled onto her soft, cream-colored couch, fluffy cushions surrounding her, and the faint aroma of vanilla candles burning on her coffee table. The room was dim, the only light emanating from a single floor lamp in the corner, casting long shadows that danced with the gentle flickering of the candles. The thick beige curtains were drawn, making the room feel isolated from the world outside. Her fingertips swiped smoothly over the glass screen, through a mixture of dance videos, makeup tutorials, and the odd cat video. It was the perfect antidote to a long day of work, a way to unplug and drift away. But amidst the cascade of videos, one stopped her in her tracks. An elderly woman with hauntingly milky eyes, her skin so pale and wrinkled it looked like a crumpled paper bag. Dressed in a tattered gray dress, she held a cardboard sign that read, "Watch till the end or you'll regret it." The caption below was just a series of numbers, 11 hours 59 minutes and 59 seconds. Something about the woman made Melissa's skin crawl. The dim room around her suddenly felt oppressive. The chilling aura of the video was palpable, as though a cold wind had suddenly swept through the room. Every instinct in her body screamed to scroll past, but something held her fingers still. The video shifted to a dilapidated room, walls cracked, the paint peeling off. The air seemed thick, as if choking on decades of decay. Moths circled a single dim bulb hanging from the ceiling. Then, the old woman's voice croaked, "Tick-tock, Melissa." Frozen in shock, Melissa watched as the video transitioned to a blood-curdling representation of her own death. The sheer reality of the imagery, the intense attention to detail, from the texture of her skin to the hue of her blood, was a grotesque masterpiece. The video ended abruptly, plunging her into darkness. The floor lamp had gone off. The vanilla candles, once a comforting presence, now gave off a sickly sweet smell that made her stomach churn. The air grew heavy. The once cozy room felt more like a trap, the walls seeming to close in on her. It was almost as if the very air she breathed was thick with the stench of death and decay. What would you do if faced with a similar situation? Imagine lounging in your sanctuary, only for it to transform into a claustrophobic chamber of horrors by a seemingly innocent click. Would you dismiss it as a prank or feel the weight of impending doom? Melissa's mind raced, struggling to make sense of the macabre video. She forced herself up, her legs weak and shaky, and hurriedly closed the app. She glanced at the time, 11:47 p.m. The eerie series of numbers from the video caption flashed in her mind, 11 hours 59 minutes and 59 seconds. It wasn't just a random sequence, it was a countdown. She tried to convince herself that it was just an elaborate prank or a hacked video. However, the echo of the old woman's voice saying her name made that hard to believe. In her well-lit kitchen, Melissa splashed cold water on her face, the droplets rolling down her cheeks, mingling with the sweat. The cold steel of the faucet, the smooth tiles beneath her feet, she hoped the reality of her surroundings would ground her from the growing paranoia. Her cat, Luna, a gray tabby with bright green eyes, walked into the kitchen, rubbing against her legs. The soft purr was momentarily comforting, a touch of normalcy amidst the chaos. But Luna's sudden hiss, her arched back, and fixed stare towards the hallway leading to the living room made Melissa's heart race. Following Luna's line of sight, Melissa saw it. A shadow, darker than the surrounding darkness, shifting just at the periphery of the living room. Her every sense screamed danger. The electric tension in the air was palpable, like the charged moment before a lightning strike. She grabbed a kitchen knife, the cold steel a meager assurance. The shadow moved closer, its form becoming more distinct, an old woman, hunched, her gait slow but deliberate. Melissa's phone buzzed on the kitchen counter, the illumination revealing a new notification from TikTok. A message request. With trembling hands, she opened it. The message was from the same account as the cursed video you didn't watch till the end. Now, she comes for you. The time was 11:58 p.m. In a panic, she bolted for the front door, but as she reached for the handle, it grew ice cold, a layer of frost forming over it. The lights began to flicker, and the temperature dropped drastically. Each breath became visible, forming clouds of mist in front of her face. The shadow was now in the kitchen, and Melissa could hear the soft whisper of the old woman, "Tick-tock, Melissa. What would you do if faced with a similar situation?" Imagine being trapped in your own home, with an entity from a cursed video approaching, and the countdown nearing its end. Would you confront it, or search for an escape, knowing that time is running out? The oppressive cold seemed to seep into Melissa's bones, sapping her strength. Yet, fueled by pure adrenaline, she sprinted up the stairs. She remembered her grandparents talking about ancient rituals to ward off evil spirits and how some entities were bound by the rules of their curses. As the seconds ticked away, an idea formed. Perhaps if she could make it past the midnight mark, she would be free from the curse. Her room seemed the safest bet, a personal space where she always felt in control. Bursting through the door, she quickly barricaded it with her wooden dresser. The ornate mirror on the dresser reflected the room, lavender walls adorned with posters of her favorite bands, a white canopied bed with a heap of plush toys, and a workstation littered with art supplies. It was a stark contrast to the horror unfolding outside. Taking a deep breath, Melissa began to recite a prayer she had heard her grandmother murmur during her childhood. The familiar words seemed to dispel some of the cold, and the room felt a bit warmer. However, this peace was short-lived. The room's single window shattered inwards as the entity tried another approach. Jagged shards of glass, glinting malevolently, lay strewn on the wooden floor, the moonlight casting eerie reflections. Luna, who had followed Melissa upstairs, hissed at the window, her fur standing on end. Looking down from the broken window was the same dilapidated room from the video. The old woman stood there, her eyes now glowing a fierce shade of blue, her voice echoing, "Your time is almost up, Melissa." A glance at her wristwatch showed 11 hours 59 minutes and 50 seconds. With only seconds to spare, she felt trapped. Remembering a video about optical illusions she had seen on TikTok, Melissa quickly grabbed her art supplies, drawing a door on the wall with black chalk. With added shadows and details, it looked eerily real in the dim light. As the seconds ticked closer to midnight, the old woman lunged from the video realm towards the drawn door. The illusion worked, and she collided with the wall, allowing the final seconds to slip away. The clock chimed midnight, and the room returned to its normal state. The cold lifted, the window was intact, and the drawn door was just chalk on the wall. Melissa slumped to the floor, exhausted but alive. What would you do if faced with a similar situation? Put yourself in Melissa's shoes. Trapped, with every exit seemingly cut off, would you think outside the box? Or would the paralyzing fear consume you? With the immediate threat over, Melissa's relief was quickly replaced by an insatiable need to understand. What was the video? Who was the old woman? Why was she targeted? Melissa turned her computer on, delving deep into the annals of the internet. She began with the cursed TikTok video's profile, which led her to a forum discussing similar incidents. The username that stood out was Midnight Watcher, who seemed to possess a deep knowledge about the video's origins. Messaging him, she soon learned about an urban legend surrounding a cursed film reel from the 1930s. Those who watched the film were said to be haunted by the protagonist, an old woman seeking eternal rest, but bound by the reel's curse. The entity became more restless with each viewing, and with the advent of the digital age, someone had converted that film into a TikTok video. The curse adapted, shortening its effects but broadening its reach. Midnight Watcher informed Melissa that while she had evaded the old woman tonight, she wasn't truly free. The curse would find a loophole. The solution? Find the original film reel and destroy it. A lead pointed her to a vintage shop downtown known for its collection of old films. The shop was a relic from another age, with creaky wooden floors, dusty shelves, and the unmistakable scent of old paper. An ancient-looking radio played tunes from bygone eras, adding to the shop's eerie ambience. After hours of searching, she found it, hidden beneath other reels in a worn-out box. The label on it read, "Watch and Weep." Just as she was about to leave, the shopkeeper, a frail man with spectacles that magnified his curious eyes, stopped her. "Be careful," he whispered. "Once you take possession of it, she will come for you with a vengeance." The weight of the reel in her hand was not just physical. It felt like she was carrying centuries of anguish, sorrow, and rage. She had to destroy it, and fast. What would you do if faced with a similar situation? Confronted with the root of the curse, a tangible piece of the past that threatens your present, would you have the courage to carry it, knowing that the entity would stop at nothing to protect it? Armed with knowledge and a newfound resolve, Melissa decided to destroy the reel using fire, a primal force that often symbolized purification. An old fire pit in her backyard, surrounded by stone and used for the occasional barbecue, would serve the purpose. Under the inky night sky, the only light came from the stars and the torch she held. As she approached the pit, each step felt like walking through a thick, tangible fog of dread. The chirping of crickets, usually a comforting countryside lullaby, now sounded like whispers warning her of impending danger. Placing the reel in the center of the pit, she doused it in lighter fluid. The fumes, pungent and overpowering, made her eyes water. But as she was about to light it, a forceful gust of wind extinguished her torch. A sudden drop in temperature made her breath visible, reminiscent of her earlier confrontation. From the shadows emerged the old woman, her appearance more terrifying than before. The very air around her seemed to distort, her eyes glowing brighter, her voice echoing with centuries of torment. "You cannot end it, Melissa." Luna, who had silently accompanied her outside, leaped onto the entity, buying Melissa precious seconds. Using a flint, she managed to ignite the fluid-soaked reel. As the flames consumed it, the old woman's form began to disintegrate, her anguished screams piercing the night. The flames rose higher, casting dancing shadows that seemed to tell a tale of an age-old battle between light and dark, until only ashes remained. As the fire died down, the world returned to normal. The oppressive aura lifted, and the familiar sounds of the night returned. Exhausted, Melissa sank to the ground, hugging Luna tightly, tears of relief streaming down her face. The curse was finally broken. The next day, she posted a video on TikTok, warning others about the dangers of cursed content and urging them to be cautious about what they view and share. Hey, Sacred Screams Sanctum family, this is Creed. If this story sent shivers down your spine, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below. And remember, not all screens lead to safe places. Stay vigilant, and keep those screams sacred.